We are back talking sports and having lunch.
12 o'clock, I got lunch with Steve Russell.
The Dean of Sports Talk is coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill Studios.
A long run and a great run.
Make sure you search for Sports Scene on Facebook, YouTube, and over 30 audio platforms, including Apple and Spotify.
I've been listening to you basically since I was a little kid.
When you live in the community, be part of the community.
Sports Scene with Steve Russell is something that is so iconic.
And here's your host, Steve Russell.
Hi there. Welcome once again to another podcast of Sports Scene. I'm Steve Russell. Hope you're having a terrific day. We've got a pretty nice show for you today. I hope you're going to enjoy it, and we're going to get right to it. In case you don't know, this is the time of the year when NHRA Gator Nationals roar into town, and we're going to talk to top fuel driver Shawn right here at the top of the show. Shawn, welcome. I got to ask this. I would think the conditions like today would be perfect for what you guys are doing. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think today's going to be good. Temperatures in the mid 70s, and then probably cool right down to the low 70s by the time our night session comes in at I think 5:30 or 6. I'm not positive on that, but I think it's going to be pretty good. I think we can't go too aggressive early. Get down the track, make a nice run, and that'll allow you to really go after it tonight.
Why is this when the conditions are right? A lot of records have been set at this raceway. Why is that?
Well, just we're about sea level. We're about sea level. We make good power here. The closer you are to sea level, the better you're going to make power. The easier you're going to make power, and I think that's first and foremost. And then the track is beautiful, and the NHRA prep they put on it's nice. So if you can. If you don't have a parts failure or break something, everybody should go pretty good.
In doing my research here, I looked and I saw former drag boat champion. I don't know many that came from that. So how'd you get into that, and how'd you get into NHRA from that?
Well, make a long story short, I was a kind of a late bloomer. I've always had I had a drag boat the day I turned 16. I needed that before I needed a car. So, I had, ran around the lakes my whole life. And, back in 2004, a buddy of mine came to me and said, "Hey, man, let's take your boat down and go race it in Oregon in the Columbia Drag Boat Association." And so that's kind of what we did. And then, I went down there with my drag boat, and I decided, after one race, I need a capsule hydro. I need something that goes 180 miles an hour. And so we got into that the very next year, and basically proceeded to put a race pack computer on it, and that was Todd Payton, who worked at Race Pack. And Todd Payton and Barry Payton owned a Top Fuel car in 2014, and went and got my license in that thing. And my first race out was the 2015 Gator Nationals, and that's really how it all started. And boy, it seems like yesterday.
If I'm wrong, please correct me. You came 2015. You got out of it for a while, right? And then
I did.
You're back in it. What was that about?
Yeah, so in 2011, I met Barbara and Floyd Hughes at a San Angelo boat race, and Barbara was originally from Marysville, Washington, and she saw my Washington plates in San Angelo, Texas, where they live in Midland, Odessa, and have a Hughes Oil Field Transportation. They just decided to sponsor me, and they kind of kicked off my boat career and made it, pretty enjoyable and affordable for me. And, and then I got my license in the fuel car with Todd Payton, and, they proceeded to pay pretty much for everything I did in a fuel car, all the way up in the Payton car through 2018. And then I went over to Bob Vandergriff in 2019 and 2020 pre-COVID, and I had a 10-race schedule set up for 2020, and then COVID hit, and it really hurt their business along with everybody else's business, right? And so after Phoenix, we went Pomona, Phoenix, we were pretty much done, and unfortunately COVID took the life of Barbara and Floyd. And yeah, so it was pretty bad. And so anyway, I quit racing for 4 years. About 2 years in, I said, man, I got my business rolling pretty good, and I'm like, man, I'm not done yet. I haven't fulfilled everything I want to do. So I ended up having the dream to put my own team together. I didn't want to rent a ride anymore, and I wanted to do my own thing, and I wanted to be, sink or die on my own dollar. So I started talking to people, and Rob Whelan came about, and I knew I just needed to find a crew chief and find somebody that would believe in the same dream I did, and he was it. And he kind of formulated the team and got some great guys over here, and boy, we built this thing in 3 months.
Wow.
It was crazy. It's still crazy to me to where we are today. 2 trucks, 2 trailers, 2 cars, the same as everybody else, and it's been a lot of hard work, but boy, it's been fun.
I noticed last year you kind of go out to a slow start, but then you picked up steam in the middle of the year, and you
Yeah.
won an event in Bradenton in February, right?
Yeah, that was our first win for sure, and that the start last year was I mean everything we've done is pretty much kind of what I thought would happen. I mean you go to every race, and yes, you go there to win them, and but realistically we're running against big budgets and top drivers, and you put 2 of them together and you're pretty much doomed, right? Because I took 4 years off, and um, it took me a while as a driver to even grasp how tough these things are. And then every car has its own personality, even though we're kind of teammates with Antron and we're running a lot of the same stuff. And he won the championship and I ended up 10th, and we're running the same part. So it just goes to there's a lot of things that need to happen on these cars. I mean, the left head guy's got to do everything perfect. The right head guy's got to do everything perfect. The bottom end guy's got to do everything perfect. And the crew chief's making the tune up. He don't have the time to go out there and make sure it's all perfect. Everybody's got to do their jobs or it won't work. And including me. I mean, we lost 8 races by less than a foot.
Wow.
Or 2 feet. Yeah, and
Wow.
that was from mid-season on. And I take all that. I mean, I need to get my lights better, and so far this year they're better. I practiced all year, all winter. But if I take my 080 light and make it an 070 light, we win 6 of them 8 close losses. And I've done the math and I've looked at it, and so I take a lot of that on. And heck, we're right now we're full speed ahead. We're just this car can beat any one of these cars out there. I promise you that. And but I've got to be on the light. Everybody that works on this car's got to be on their job. And one little mistake, one small fuel leak, one small oil leak, one valve not adjusted properly, too much fuel in the tank. I mean, all that stuff could add up to just disaster.
I learned something. I always try to when I talk to folks, but I think unless you're into the sport, like okay, like a baseball season, right? Season ends, maybe guys go in a cage and hit a little bit or throw a little
Yeah,
bit, but
yeah.
I didn't know you practice before you go out there. I learned something. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we got a little practice tree. A Porter Tree puts out a little practice tree, and it's pretty realistic. And then you can even get more realistic. You can set these things up into cockpits, just like what I sit in the car. And Armstrong's got one at his place, and we got the portable ones. That go under our benches here that we can work on. But they got the same foot pedal as we got in the car,
Wow.
and then you can hook them up to a 2-person application, and then you can actually check. You can the second user could be actually when you release your brake handle, right? Because I mean, if you hit the throttle and you're holding 150 pounds of brake pressure, well, that I mean, of course the 11,000 horsepower is going to win out, but you still want to know you're hanging onto the brake. I mean, you want the brake pressure to be gone when the throttle goes down, so it's a continuous deal, foot down, hand off, and it has to be. And if you're still hanging onto the brake, which I was doing a little bit, so there's just so many things to work on. I mean, that if you got a handful of brake when you're hitting the throttle, I mean, that could be maybe a 75 light instead of a 65 light. It just takes that much more. So you want everything freed up. I mean, think of it like trying to pedal your pedal bike with your hand on the brake, right? I mean, it's hard. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing for a fuel car. You need to release that brake at the same time that foot's going down. So there's a lot of things that I worked on over the off season, and I sure hope it paid off in Bradenton. My lights were pretty good there, but we don't know. A lot of things can make that different. How they got the rollout set up and how they set up the lights. So hopefully we go out there here in about 3 hours and start cutting good lights.
All right. Appreciate your time doing this. Thanks, Shawn.
You bet, man. Appreciate you.
Good luck to you. Okay. Thank you. All right. Shawn Reed going to be at NHRA Gator Nationals this weekend. Great event here. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We're going to talk some Gator basketball next here on our Sports Scene podcast. Stay with us.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand.
We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers,
And go Gators.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back. We are hoping to get Mark Dukes with us, the radio analyst for Ole Miss men's basketball. Florida will play Ole Miss tomorrow, and then it'll be postseason time. That's going to be always a lot of fun. How about the Gator women? They beat Auburn, and after beating Auburn, John Cohen, the former Gator baseball assistant here, fired the coach at Auburn, who had worked with him at Mississippi State when he was there. And then the Gators upset nationally ranked Alabama last night. So a 2-game push for Kelly Ray Finley's team here in the SEC tournament. And how about the week in men's basketball when all those upsets took place? Teams that really had to win did win. Texas won. Oklahoma won. Georgia won. So it's going to be pretty interesting here when it comes to, okay, he says he doesn't have a link for whatever the reason, so maybe we can resend it to him. Yes. Maybe we just try it again. Yeah, we can try it again. Oh, okay. Well, okay. I don't know what the issue is, but we'll see what we can get done here. The M is capital. Does that help in the email? Well, that's because that's what it is. So we're going to try to get it to him here. And then later in the show, Gator baseball will take on Harvard. And we'll talk to Coach Decker about their team. Florida's last weekend series before starting SEC play. And what a week for Gator baseball next week. They play Florida State and Tennessee all on the road. Gator softball also is starting SEC play this week. They will play Texas A&M. That's a big battle when it comes to top 10. So that is going to be a lot of fun too. So it's pretty interesting when it comes down to this now, what is happening with that. Okay, we're going to take a break here, and then hopefully we'll get Coach Decker, and we'll try to get Marc Dukes on with us too. Stay with us here on our Sports Scene podcast for this Friday.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand.
We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers,
and go Gators.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. Okay. We just got word. When you do a podcast, for those who don't know, and it's live, right? You can watch it anytime, obviously, but when it's live, sometimes technology gets in the way, and Marc's been having problems, he says, with his email. So maybe that's the problem. We'll try to reschedule him. I'd love to get him back on later in the show because we've got a big basketball game coming up, and Ole Miss is a team that certainly is going to be going to the dance here. But in the meantime, we're going to try to get Coach Decker on here, Bill Decker from Harvard. They're in town this week to face the Gators. They will have, they've scheduled a starter on Friday, scheduled a starter on Saturday. Sunday is TBA. I've got a couple of people who have asked me about this because of weather. Has there been any change in the start times? And the answer is no, not at this point. I think they're kind of waiting to see closer into the forecast what may happen, and then we will certainly see what takes place. But as of now, all the games are on as scheduled at the times they are scheduled. So want to make sure that that gets passed along to everybody, and that is indeed going to be the case. We hope to have Laura Rutledge with us. Just signed a new deal to stay with ESPN and the SEC network. Great for her, and certainly richly deserved. One of my favorite times of the year, I've said this a lot on my Sports Scene radio show, if I could be in a war room during the draft, that's a bucket list thing for me. Just to see, what they do and how they do it. Maybe someday. But free agency, what teams do, you could look back at what teams do and see how successful or not successful they are. Okay, Let's talk some Gator baseball. Harvard coach Bill Decker now joins us. Coach, thank you for doing this. Welcome.
Good afternoon. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for this. You know, teams from the north, I'm originally from the north, so I get what the weather is this time of the year. But does it, I mean, why do you schedule a team like Florida? Isn't this sort of to get, play a really good team and see how your team stacks up as you go into your conference season?
Well, I think it's always a good experience to try to play some competition like Florida. It gives us a chance to travel a little bit, to some warmer climates. We've been down in North Carolina, South Carolina, and now Gainesville. So kind of gets us ready as best we can for our season and kind of go from there.
You got a couple of guys. You got two righties who'll be throwing. Tell us about your guy throwing tonight.
Yeah, Callan hasn't thrown for us this year. He's had a little bit of stiffness in his right forearm. Nothing is structural in nature. He's been a very good arm for us, and we just didn't want to press him early. Wanted to give him some extra rest. And I think we're just going to stick with that plan, not only this evening, but kind of moving forward into next week before we get ready for, our Ivy League season. But he's been good for us. He was the freshman pitcher of the year in the league. Last year, he was the pitcher of the year. He had a good season last summer down the Cape. So, we're hopeful that whatever he does for us tonight can get us back on track and give us a good start against a really good club.
How different is your team and roster, given the climate we're in, from last year to this year?
Our roster's not going to really change based on what's going on in college baseball right now. We're not really an NIL school. We're not a transfer school. I think, Steve, the thing that's affected us, not just last year, but the year before, is each of the last two seasons, we've had our top two arms as juniors go into the draft, which is great for them. But obviously it brings on a different set of challenges, as we kind of march on. But, I'm from a little bit of the old school, and we're always going to kind of do the best we can with what we have and make use of it. So, just our guys got to play, and we got to get better along the way, and gives other kids an opportunity to go out there and get some innings and some at-bats and some playing time.
I know some of the numbers maybe you'd like to have better, but so far, what have you seen from your team?
Yeah, we haven't played well. I mean, I think for us, the message is let's worry about what we do and try to get better internally. I'm a big believer that everything starts with catch play and ball security. And, if we can do those things, and that's from any position, right? We need to defend better. We need to pitch better. We need to hit better. We need to be better in our dugout. And that's not a negative towards our team. It's just something, when you've got new players in your roster and, we're somewhat limited in the fall, that we just got to keep on preaching and keep on working at it.
I always ask coaches I've not spoken to before, how'd you get into coaching?
Well, my dad was a teacher and coach when I was growing up. And it's kind of, I guess, in the blood, so to speak. Believe it or not, this is year 40 overall for me.
Wow.
And it's a profession really that I wanted to be outdoors and I wanted to be on the field. And as you well know, some of that stuff doesn't happen anymore. You spend a lot of time administratively and doing some different things, mainly because we're just all of us are in a different world these days.
When you look at this Gator team, what do you see?
A good club. Coach O'Sullivan continues to do a really good job with his club. We followed him. I think they have very good pitching. I think from top to bottom, and some of the guys they're bringing off out of the dugout, they're talented. And knowing I don't know Coach very well. I mean, we played in 2016. He's going to get the most out of his guys, and he expects them to perform at a high level, and that's why they are who they are.
Last two things, Coach. When you take a look at the Ivy League, for people who don't know, how competitive is that league? Where do you shake out in terms of, where you are in the league?
Yeah, we had we kind of climbed since, 2012, when I was fortunate enough to land at Harvard. The season before COVID hit, we played in an Oklahoma State regional. We had a good club. COVID hit. I thought we were able to rebound. We came back with some good players that went out and worked their tail off like the other schools in the Ivy did. I think it's a competitive league. I think it's more competitive today than it was maybe my first season in 2013 from top to bottom. So, I think our goal is, and our sights are set on just be one of the top 4 teams to kind of get into our tournament and see what happens from there.
You kind of mentioned this. I'll close with this. Maybe the NIL thing doesn't affect you as much as, it does other places, but you've seen a lot of changes in the sport. And I don't know if you think they're good, they're bad, but as you look at the sport of where college baseball is now, Bill, what do you see?
Well, I think there was always this thing, and I don't know how many years it started ago, but let's pay him to play. And here we are, we're paying him to play. And I think things, in my opinion, have gotten a little bit out of line, and hopefully we can reel it back a little bit. And that's not just for the welfare of the players. I think that's for the welfare and sanity of my colleagues across the country. I think it's challenging for those that are dealing with it. You're seeing more and more kids jump from school to school based on dollars and cents, which sometimes are short term rather than maybe looking at the long-term goals. That's just, again, my opinion. I just think, college age kids should find a home and spend 4 years there and get to know their teammates. But, again, we're in a different world and things have changed. So hopefully, it can slow down a little bit and maybe give everybody a chance to breathe.
Coach, I appreciate you taking time to do this. Good luck this weekend, and thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Okay, Bill, thank you. That's Bill Decker. He is the head coach at Harvard. Gator baseball team taking on his club today, tomorrow, and Sunday. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Much more of the Sports Scene podcast to come. Stay with us.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marc Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand.
We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers,
and go Gators.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marc Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand.
We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers,
and go Gators.
Welcome back. Don't forget, we're going to have our podcast with Mark Wise talking hoops, and man, it starts getting fun now. Okay, I think we can try Laura now. So let's go ahead and try that. Zach? Um, okay. So hopefully she will connect up, and hopefully her Wi-Fi will cooperate, and we'll see. And we're going to try to get Mark Dukes to talk Ole Miss basketball before we are out today. So you gotta roll with the punches as they come on. So, all right, good. Um, Looking forward to talking some hoops with Mark, and great year for Gator basketball, obviously, and a very good year for Ole Miss too. They've had a nice year. They're going to be going dancing, and that is certainly good. All right. Um, I think we're going to get Laura here, and we're going to talk a little college football with her, but mostly NFL because, again, I think it's the time of the year when it's really great. The draft, trades, free agency, all of that. So that's really what I wish I could be in a room with. And Howie Roseman, by the way, for those who don't know, with the Eagles, is a Gator. So there. Do we have Laura?
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Good to have you. Thank you for doing this. And by the way, congratulations on re-signing. Very nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's funny. That was done a while ago, but it just wasn't announced. But I'm very thankful. Very, very thankful.
All right. This is I just said this, one of my favorite times of the year because I think what front offices do now really has in the NFL has a lot to do with how successful or not successful they are. So let's talk about some of the free agents here. Were you surprised like a Bosa or somebody like that was released? And is that mostly due to cap problems?
Well, cap problems are it's like everybody's got cap problems, right? no matter who you are. So that's a big piece of it. And certainly we're seeing the salary cap increase this year, so that's going to play a part in all of this, but it's also production and is somebody, a heavy producer for a team, and Bosa's talented, but he hasn't necessarily lived up to the production that they would like to have seen for the money, right? And just ultimately sometimes that's what happens in this league. So we've seen some players. I mean, the one that I don't understand, and this is a little bit of a different issue, right? But the one that I didn't understand is the Bengals allowing Trey Hendrickson to seek a trade. Like that one to me doesn't make sense. The Bosa one makes a little bit more sense for the production reasons and just other situations with the Chargers. But I don't understand the Bengals letting go of a player or, listen, it hasn't happened yet, but it will happen, right? If you grant permission, it's like they might as well be out the door. Right. Letting go of a player that's been that productive for them.
Sam Darnold's interesting too. All kinds of looks at where he may end up. Where do you think he ends up?
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating because he is a player that I think the Vikings really like, but they also know that they invested in their future with JJ McCarthy. So it doesn't make a ton of sense for Sam Darnold, doesn't make a ton of sense for them, certainly where if you're going to hold on to him, the franchise tag, $40 million, they're not going to invest $40 million in Sam Darnold, but he is a definitely worthwhile quarterback. So I would look at Vegas as a potential landing spot. You've seen in the past, Pete Carroll has sort of acquired and accumulated a bunch of quarterbacks. I could see that making sense. And then maybe they even get more. Maybe they get somebody in the draft too. But there's so many quarterback needy teams. I mean, the Giants are interesting. You wonder about that, although I think they may look to the draft just considering how high they pick. And maybe they feel they even have to get even higher to make sure that they get either Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. So I would point out those as potential options for him, but I don't know that, and in talking to teams, I don't know that people are that turned off by the way the season ended. I think people are a little bit more focused on the production in season, which was the best year we've seen out of Darnold yet.
Yeah, he looked like he was playing for the Jets those last two
I know, that was sad.
It was sad because he had a great year before.
Yeah.
He really did. He had a really good year. Speaking of, does anybody want Aaron? Would anybody take a flyer on Aaron Rodgers at this point?
They would, and I think somebody will, and I mentioned the Giants. Again, it just goes back to them needing somebody immediately to help their team. You've got GM and Joe Shane and coach and Brian Dable, whose jobs are on the line. So when you're in that type of situation, desperation makes everyone say, okay, what can we do here? And maybe that's a landing spot for Rodgers, although it's not even just Steve, as you know, his couple years with the Jets, which of course we didn't see him play that much because of the Achilles. But even prior to that, his last year in Green Bay, Rodgers' production was way down.
Yes.
So it's not just a Jets thing. And I think that's worth remembering when you look at his overall production these last 3 seasons-ish that he's been playing. It's a real thing that teams are going to look at. But I do think somebody will bring him in. It's a matter of, does it make sense for Rodgers at this point in his career? And I think he would like to not be done because he has a sour taste in his mouth about how things finished in New York. In New York, but I don't know. It's got to be the specific situation with a great O-line to try to protect him, and he will be paying attention to those things. Another interesting spot for him, potentially Tennessee, if they decide that they want to try to move on from Will Levis or at least do something different this year. And maybe they, with that number 1 overall pick, go a different direction, go defense and invest in what I believe would be a transcendent player in either a Travis Hunter or an Abdul Carter. Instead of trying to draft a quarterback, they go a different way, and then they try to use Aaron Rodgers to bridge a gap.
Interesting. Laura Rutledge here, talking, of course, host of NFL Live. We're talking NFL first, little college coming up. Let me ask about the Myles Garrett situation. I mean, he's put Cleveland in an almost impossible situation. The Browns insist they're not going to trade him, but aren't they going to have to trade him?
Oh, man. I just saw reports today that Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, refused to meet with Myles Garrett. And it's just like, come on, guys, don't make it worse. What are we doing? And they just keep kind of stepping on their own feet here, it seems like. And I just think when a player of that caliber who has been there for so long, who's done everything the right way, this is not about money. I know that's hard for people to understand sometimes, but Myles Garrett, I did a couple Browns games this past year. Woe is me. Just kidding. But Myles Garrett, sat there and told us that he had asked the front office, he had asked the ownership these questions. What are you doing about the quarterback situation? What are you doing about different parts of this team? And they did not give him the right answers. They didn't give him any answers, and then now the owner is refusing to meet with him. So I just don't see any other way than to trade him. But yet again, they're going to continue to maintain this very strong stance that they're not giving up an asset like Myles Garrett. I just think when a player of that caliber decides that they're gone, they're usually gone.
All right, let's put your SEC Nation hat on for a couple of college football questions to end here. I think the SEC is going to add another regular season game. Do you?
Yeah, I do too. And that's been a goal of Commissioner Sankey's. I think the interesting thing is, as it relates to the college football playoff and what we saw in an expanded playoff last season, the first year of it, is it didn't really benefit the SEC to play such a difficult schedule. Some of these SEC teams got left out because of losses they suffered. And were they better options than some of the teams that got in? Probably, right? So that's where I do wonder about adding additional difficult SEC games in the bigger picture, bigger spectrum of things. But as we just venture toward what I believe ultimately will become some sort of super conference world in college football, and a separation from, sort of like the elite of college football in the SEC and the Big Ten, and then maybe the rest of college football, I believe it's more about the future when it comes to adding an additional league game. And I think that's what Commissioner Sankey and some of these other college football leaders that are trying to get on the same page, which seems to be an elusive prospect. Looking forward, they're trying to say, all right, how can we set this up best for the next 5 to 10 years?
If you were Commissioner Rutledge,
Commissioner Rutledge
in college football, 2 things, Laura, bother me. If you have these automatic qualifiers, well, then why would you play a more difficult schedule? Number one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's
Right?
the hard part, right?
Yes. And number 2, Commissioner, the season lasts until Martin Luther King Day.
I know.
It's going to last even, I mean, are we going to go into February with college football now?
And they just can't. I mean, they're going to have to, there has to be an endpoint there. And that's where I would say, we are in a really unique time where NIL has taken over. So there is compensation for these players for playing longer, but it's not for everybody. It's not enough, and that's where I would say if we're going to continue to add games, it's just like when the NFL has added games. And I think they'll look to even add more too.
Yes.
You've got to compensate people properly. And unfortunately, that's the world that we're living in now. So that would be my first goal, to try to get people, bought in there. But I just don't think they can continue to expand this schedule. It doesn't make sense even in the bigger picture sports calendar that you've got to cap it off at some point.
Last thing. It's interesting now that Billy Napier, at least for the time being, is off the hot seat until the season starts, of course.
Right.
But if we had a hot seat meter, don't you go to Norman, Oklahoma right now?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think when you look at, the landscape of the SEC, and it's just a matter of how many of these teams and how many of these coaches can afford to fall further and further behind. And I don't think that that's the position that Napier's in, but, Florida fans want to see championships won. So this is where it all, I think, this year, and we kind of said that last year too, right? This is where it all comes to a head. But this year is, okay, last year you hung on. This year, how do you elevate this Florida team? What are you doing to really make waves in the SEC and in college football? And I guess, Steve, the interesting thing for me is going to be, when we see what the schedule looks like, because Florida, and I don't want to make excuses, but Florida's schedule last year was absolutely brutal, if not the most difficult, right up there with the most difficult schedule in all of college football. So if somehow the scheduling gods can be in their favor a little bit more, maybe we see some of those improvements a little bit more immediately accessible for Napier and this team. But man, the time is now. Tell me if you've heard that before.
Yeah. Give yourself a plug here for NFL Live.
Yeah, well, we're on every day at 4, but this coming week, Monday of free agency, so Monday, March 10th, we have 5 hours of coverage. So we're going to be just all over the networks with free agency. There should be a lot of action happening, so it should be pretty interesting. Adam Schefter is going to be dialing up all of his phones, and I'll be there to witness it all and guide us through it. We'll do that. We have extra specials on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. So that's coming your way next week. But of course, as always, on every day, I'll see you at 4.
All right. On that note, always appreciate you. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
You got it, Laura. Thank you. Laura Rutledge does such a great job. SEC Network, NFL Live. We'll take a break. We'll end, I hope, by talking some Gator men's basketball as they take on Ole Miss. Stay with us on our Sports Scene podcast.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football.
Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand.
We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers,
and go Gators.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
All right, we are back, and been a good show today. It's always good when Laura comes on. I think you know the relationship we have, and she's really, really great, and we always appreciate her time. All right, Florida Ole Miss in men's basketball. Radio analyst Marc Dukes joins us now talking about Ole Miss. Marc, welcome. How are you? Oh, okay. I think he's going to still connect with us, so we'll get him here. Okay. And I'm interested, before Marc gets here, to see what happens in the SEC tournament in terms of which teams maybe take a day off. We'll see. Okay, Marc is with us now. Welcome, Marc. Finally got you. Thanks for doing this. Marc, you got us? Oh, he can't hear, apparently. Okay, we're having all kinds of problems here with this one. All right. Well, Zach, our producer, is going to see if we can get Marc with us. I see him, but hopefully we can get his audio. We can hear him. Don't forget, Monday on our Sports Scene podcast, we're going to talk SEC basketball tournament with Mike Morgan from the SEC Network, and we'll talk a little Gator baseball too, as the Gators get set for a big 4-game stretch with Tennessee and Florida State. Okay, Marc, do you hear me? Okay, all right. We'll hang on just a second here. This happens every once in a while. Okay.
Sorry.
All right, now we got you. There we go.
My bad. I'm not.
That's okay.
I'm not much of a podcaster, so forgive me for that.
You're forgiven, sir. We appreciate you doing this. Congratulations on a big win for Ole Miss the other night. So, if a Gator fan hasn't really seen Ole Miss play, Marc, what's gotten them the success they've got?
Well, pretty solid defense for one thing. This team doesn't give up a great number of points. And secondly, I think the best thing maybe is we're averaging only 8 turnovers a game. I mean, they take care of the basketball. They get shots. We have several guys that can score. We've got, I think, 5 guys averaging double digits. So we have different guys every night, like the other night against Tennessee. Jamin Brakefield played 23 minutes, scored 19 points, and all of those were in the second half.
You'll take that, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know one night to the next who's going to probably be the guy,
From a rotation standpoint, is Coach pretty set with that? Is that fluid? How does that work?
Yeah, it's set. He started the same 5 guys for, I think we've had 30 games, maybe 27 of them. He started the same 5 guys. Jamin Brakefield, the guy I mentioned, comes off the bench as the 6th man, one of the better 6 men, I think, in the conference. And so that is set play. We play 8, 9 guys, maybe 10 in certain situations.
We've been around the block here watching SEC basketball. This league is unbelievable. I mean, you look up and down the league, just when you buried Oklahoma, buried Texas, buried Georgia, they come up with big wins. There could be a record number of teams that make the NCAA tournament if all the cards fall the right way from this league.
No doubt about that. I've coached in this league back years ago. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never seen it like this. I really haven't. I don't know if anybody has. And you're right. I don't know, 12, 13, some people are saying 13 teams.
Yeah.
12. I think 12 for sure, maybe.
That's crazy. When you look at this Florida team, Marc, what do you see?
Goodness. I see one of the top teams in the nation. I see a team that can win a national championship. I see size. I see great guard play, scoring from all levels, from the 3-point line, mid-range, in the paint. Just a team that is an offensive machine, in my opinion, and you got Condon back now, who I think is, first team All SEC, maybe All America. I think he's one of the top bigs around. And it's just going to be a heck of a challenge for the Rebels in Gainesville.
If you were coaching, and I know no coach would maybe admit this, but you're going to be a 1 or a 2 seed, and now you're playing in the SEC tournament, and no coach is going to say in his press conference, "We tanked." But do you think about that? Do you think about resting your team after a grueling SEC regular season?
I do. Since I'm out of coaching, I do think about that, and I've talked to about it with some of my friends who saying maybe we should just go down there and kind of let our starters start, play off and on, give them 10 minutes, don't get anybody hurt, get out of there, get ready for the SEC tourney, get ready for the NCAA tourney, that kind of stuff. But I don't think Chris Beard or this coaching staff will think like I think. So I want to say they're going to come to play.
And I'm with you. I don't know how many coaching staffs would think like that, to just say,
right,
okay, hey, we're not going to play our starters, or to your point, we'll play them, 7-8 minutes. But look, if you play them 7-8 minutes, you can still get hurt in 7 or 8 minutes as opposed to playing 13, right?
You're exactly right, and that's. But I don't know that you just go and say, okay, we're going to start our 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guy and go into a game. I don't know that coaches now, anyone would even consider that, probably because of the criticism they would get from other coaches.
That's right. Last question for you, Mark. Has there been a player for your team that has performed, like the start of the season to now, a player jumped out that maybe gave you more production than you thought at the beginning of the year?
For me personally, that would be Shawn, our point guard. He's leading us in scoring. He's got a ton of assists, ton of steals. I think he's the guy, to me personally, that's been the biggest surprise. Now, he didn't have a good game against Tennessee, but Zakai Ziegler, the leading defender in the SEC, was guarding him in that game, and other guys took up the slack. But most games, he's hit big shots. He's been the guy that makes the assist, actually gets rebounds as a point guard. I think he's been the big surprise for me.
All right, last thing. Fill in the blank here, Mark.
Okay.
Ole Miss beats Florida on the road if?
Wow. If we can rebound, okay, and if we can compete in the paint and defend the paint, those are the two big things, I think, rebounding and containing Florida's bigs in the paint area.
Okay. Pleasure to have you back. Thank you for taking the time to do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Mark. Thank you. Mark
Bye-bye.
Dukes talking Ole Miss basketball with us as the Gators take on Ole Miss here in the O'Connell Center. That will do it for our Sports Scene podcast for today. We appreciate you being here. Thanks to all of our guests, Laura Rutledge, Shawn Reed, NHRA drivers. They'll be in town this weekend. Mark Dukes from Ole Miss, and Coach Decker, the baseball coach at Harvard. Thanks to Zach for producing. And again, if you want to advertise with us, please contact Freddie Wiebe, and we will get you on board. We thank all the advertisers we have right now with us, and we always have room for more. And we thank you for taking time, whether it's live or whenever you want to listen to the podcast. Back Monday at noon with another Sports Scene podcast. I'm Steve Russell. See you later.